Hello, friends and enemies. Before I get started to the meat of this video, we're going to talk about this whole situation. Those of you who are longtime followers know I'm not a huge fan of showing myself on the internet, yet something happened. So this week I was going to put out not just one but two videos because of something Bandcamp is doing, which if you know, you know. If you don't know, I'll talk about it at the end of this video. So, I had my audio ready, I had all my visuals prepared, and I'm not doing boring ones anymore. I was going to make them interesting. And then my video program was not working. And I use a Chromebook, so not a lot of programs work. So I was looking for some more because I didn't want this all to go to waste, and nothing was working. And then, so my choices were, 1, don't put out any videos, let alone 2, or 2, show yourself. Not something I was interested in doing. So I thought, I know, I'll wear a mask. Everyone's wearing a mask these days. It's not weird anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna present to you an actual video, but you can't see my face, so I don't feel as weird about it. But, I still have... Because my current avatar is a little cactus friend, I have as much cactus stuff as I can. I got these cactus cushions, my cactus shirt, cactus socks. Unfortunately, I don't have a cactus mask yet. Maybe I'll have one in time for the second wave of COVID. Anyways, time for the actual subject of the video. So, today we are going to talk about the June 2020 release, The Lover's Path by Costa Rican band Red Apple Cvlt. The lead lady is Eva Red, the vocalist and instrumentalist on multiple instruments. But there's a few other instrumentalists in the band other than her. Both of their albums were mixed and mastered by Ariel Maniki, who I swear is somehow involved with every Costa Rican goth act out there. I actually got a little preview of this album, so I got to listen to it early. This is their second release after their 2019 release, Immaculate. On their Bandcamp, they describe themselves as gothgaze, dream pop, occult pop, or just music for deep, dark souls. On their Facebook, they additionally describe themselves as ethereal, ambient, and gothic. I feel like people will sooner hear the ethereal than the gazy side on account of the vocals. Though there is some reverb in the instrumentation, there isn't really much in the vocals, which have that very flowy, somber witch sound associated with ethereal wave and 1990s goth music more generally. There's also the subject matter. When I think of ethereal goth music song subjects, I think of the Garden of Eden and the myth of Persephone and fairies and forests and ancient Middle Eastern mythologies and the general divine feminine, some of which go together. This album does touch on a few of those subjects. You could probably have figured that out because the band is literally called Red Apple Cvlt. While the previous release had a bit more of the mystical Christian mythos subject matter, this one is, it goes in a bit of a different direction. And let's get started. I'm not going to be able to play you anything, but I can tell you about the songs. And keep in mind, this is all my opinions, especially when it comes to lyrical interpretations. I could be totally wrong or you could disagree. So the opening track is called Alchemy. It's got a nice keyboard and some acoustic guitar sounds, and there's this wah sound throughout that gives it that sort of mystical, dreamlike quality. There's also what sounds like a bit of a Middle Eastern music influence at times. The vocals have this small, almost whispering quality at first, and then they build throughout. Lyrically, it's from the point of view of a serpent, presumably the one in the Garden of Eden, due to the references made to God and truth and wisdom and quite literally the tree of life. It doesn't appear to be in a negative way, though. It's seen as an introduction to knowledge, which is the very Gnostic Christian or Pagano-Christian perspective, which I've come to expect from this band based on their previous album. The second song is Devotion, one of the big hit singles. It has the title of the album in the lyrics, so you know it's important. It's mostly keyboard driven, though, and if you listen closely, there's that post-punk guitar sound we've come to know, but it's not the focal instrument. This is probably the most poppy song on the album, but in the way that, they call themselves occult pop, which is it's accessible, but it has this very mystical sound to it still. Lyrically, it appears to be about lost love. Either you were interested in hi Winona, you were interested in this person and you broke up after you were together, or it wasn't mutual. And, you still have feelings for them, whatever the case is. Either way, it's from the point of view of someone who is very into this person, using these religious-sounding terms, hence devotion, but it wasn't shared or it didn't last. Next, we have the only song on the album that's in Spanish instead of English, La oscuridad tiene su nombre, meaning for my non-Spanish speakers, darkness has a name. This song has some of the most gazy sounding instrumentation with reverb in the guitar, though the keyboard and the nature of the vocals are still quite ethereal to me. Hi, Nona, you want to sing? She's like, you're talking about music, I'm going to sing. Anyways, from what I can tell, the song is an Icarus tale of someone trying to get close to the sun, but in a metaphorical way. It's more about trying to find God or something similar, like knowledge or whatever. But we all know how the tale of Icarus ends. Next up is a song named for one of my favorite fruits, pomegranate. This song opens up more rocking and has some of the more reverby guitars throughout, and even some of the vocals. Which is, it's different than the rest of the album. Lyrically, this tells of an allegory of the cave type situation. For those of you who didn't learn about that in history or philosophy or, I don't know, some pretentious message board, the allegory of the cave is a thought experiment by Plato telling about this idea that there are these people who are in a cave and they're chained, so they're always facing the back. There's a fire behind them, and they always see shadows of objects like a book or an apple or whatever. And they assume that's the real thing because they never seen the real thing. And one day someone gets loose and they see the real world and they realize everything they knew was a lie. And, so basically it's about symbolic for gaining new knowledge and realizing that the previous situation you were in wasn't the full truth. It's what The Matrix is based on, actually. That's how I learned about that when we watched that movie in a history class. Anyways, so this song appears to be describing that sort of situation where you were previously lied to your entire life and now you see the truth. Song number 5 is The Garden. This has a mellow acoustic guitar-driven song. The vocals have that wispy banshee quality, in a pretty way, though. I know banshees aren't always thought of as pretty, and it makes it feel really eerie. It's the shortest song on the album, and there isn't a great deal of build or change in the song's structure, but that's okay. From what I can gather of the lyrics, which are full of metaphor and creepy, morbid descriptions, it appears to be about the loss of a good circumstance. Our next song is Light the Fire. This song is quite cool. It has a whole falling into the abyss sound as it builds. It starts out as a vaguely mystical sounding slow piece with some naturey, echoey synth sounds, which it retains, but then it adds more layers and speeds up a bit. This song is about a transformation of sorts. On a literal level, it's about becoming something more than human, like a supernatural creature of some sorts and abandoning the human confines. But you can also take that on a more symbolic level about just reaching other things. The 7th song on the album is Flies, which is positively depressing. It has that whole minor key drums thing, so you know you're in for something sad here. The vocals get a bit waily at times, but not in an obnoxious way. And it just has that feeling of despair way. This time, instead of falling into the abyss as the song goes on, we're more rolling into the abyss because that's where our executive function is at. Even in the lyrics, this is the most realistic song on the album. No mythic metaphors here. It's just about a depressed person watching flies out the window. Not even birds, flies. It's very sad. The next song is the other big hit single, Red Spells. I like this one a lot because it briefly features some prominent bass, my favorite instrument in goth music. There is also some reverby guitar and light drums. It also features guest vocals by Careless Cat of Mexican goth band Animal Rojo. His vocals go well with that of the lead lady, Ava Red. He has that deep baritone voice you hear a lot in goth music, but not much in ethereal goth, which has mostly female singers, or gothgaze, which one of the rare cases where the male singers actually have more of a tenor voice, or at least they seem to be, because, their voices are so messed with. These two really play well off of each other. This song is lyrically another passionate love song using religious metaphors, but it appears to be a lot happier and less hopeless than the situation described in Devotion. Interesting that both of the hits are love songs. Our last song is called Moth. This is another very sad-sounding song in the most minimalist of ways. There's some very simple minor keyboard chords and some echo added to the vocals that are full of sadness. It's actually one of the longer songs in the album, I believe the second longest song, and there's very little build, and it ends almost abruptly, just leaving you with a really sad feeling. The lyrics are literally about a dying moth. Figuratively, it is likely about a depressed person, with the moth being a metaphor used to reference how moths are drawn to light, and this moth can't even find a light. I guess that's seen as looking for hope you can't find, and there's a reference made to moths don't have souls, seemingly meaning that after the moth dies it won't go to heaven, and there's a pretty obvious symbolic parallel with humans and things people say in certain religious traditions. I think that this song is even more sad than Flies. It's interesting that both of the sad songs are named for insects. I wonder if that was intentional. While Flies is more of just a bummer, this song legitimately makes me want to cry. So those were the 9 songs on the album. I liked them, as you could probably tell. I pretty much only ever talk about albums that I like because I'm not getting paid for this, and I'm not going to repeatedly listen to songs I don't like. Sound-wise, they remind me of a less rocking Incubus Succubus, if that makes sense. The way they have that witchy sound, but this is more ethereal and gazy. I liked they also sort of remind me of Miranda Sex Garden, which is more of a general ethereal goth band, I think, from what I heard of them. But, this is more modern, whereas those are 90s. I like the use of repeating motifs throughout the songs because it made it feel like it was a story. But the songs still do well individually. I highly recommend this album. Below, I have links to Red Apple Cvlt's social media pages and listening platforms. So you can listen to them on Spotify and Deezer and a few other places. And speaking of which, you can buy it on Bandcamp. And if you do want to buy it, or any other thing on Bandcamp, I recommend you do so this Friday, as of my recording this, June 19th, known as Juneteenth in the United States, which is the day it's celebrating basically when slavery was ended. And so in celebration of that, in both this year and every year following, not just this year, Bandcamp is going to donate all of their portion of the proceeds from songs bought to the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund. So I recommend buying stuff that day. So anyways, if you want to hear more about goth music from Latin America and other spooky little things, you should follow me here on YouTube, and I also have links to my own social media page listed below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever your preference is. Until we meet again. Bye now. Mwah. It's different when you can see me.